Been sleeping for too long. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up! Wake up! I see the sunshine gazing through the window pane, blazing like endo flame. It's time to wake up. Come to your senses, man. Snow is all around you, but you don't play in the winter game. Cartridges surround you, but you ain't playing Nintendo games. Load them up.
Greetings. We are back for another episode of the Woke Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Jones. And on today's episode of the Woke Podcast, we are going to talk about coons. Yes, we are going there. Coon hunting. It's a concept that I have called coon hunting. And what has sparked this? This was actually a podcast that I was thinking about doing later on in the year, closer to the end of the year. But we just keep having incident after incident after incident happen with people being labeled as coons. So I figured, hell, might as well just talk about it now, especially while a lot of people are focusing on it. And what has recently happened, and I'm sure most of you listening to this podcast have seen this or heard someone else speak on it by now, but Lil Wayne once again came out and had interesting comments on black people, really. He was talking about Black Lives Matter, but we all know by now that Black Lives Matter is really a code word for black people. And if you don't know that, now you know that Black Lives Matter is a code word for black people. And in a recent interview with ABC, I don't know why they keep interviewing Lil Wayne. It's just kind of random. But he was interviewed and they were talking about his career and his music and, you know, does he feel comfortable if someone called his daughter a bitch or a hoe and because he's used that language in his music. And of course he said, yeah, I'll feel uncomfortable. I wouldn't like that. So we have the hypocrisy and the contradiction there. And, you know, and then they, you know, towards the end of the little 6-minute clip, they got to asking him about, you know, his previous comments that he made earlier in the year about Black Lives Matter and him saying, you know, he doesn't see racism because white people come to his shows. And so he was asked about that again, and he was just like, I don't know what Black Lives Matter is. It got really bizarre. And I know some people got real coonish. I don't know what that means. And, you know, he went off on some stuff. You know, talking about he don't know what Black Lives Matter mean, and I'm a rich young black man, and if that don't mean Black Lives Matter, then I don't know what. So it got really interesting. Then he got frustrated and ended the interview. So it was interesting. However, I don't want to talk about him, you know, per se. I want to talk about this whole thing of coons. And I mean, I think 2016 has been the height of everyone talking about coons. We've always had people. I mean, I remember hearing coon and Uncle Tom and stuff like that a long time ago as a child. But some, you know, coon has become a mainstream topic. It's wild, man. Coon has become a mainstream topic. And, you know, I think what kind of brought it out to light was the popularity of Boondocks. And it kind of made it a more modern thing to point out coons with the character of Uncle Ruckus, who, I mean, if you want to talk about a stereotypical coon, Uncle Ruckus would fit that personality type very well. And before that, I think the people would associate a lot of coons with Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas would have been the other person. But we've always had these types of people in the quote-unquote black community, the black collective, the ethnic group of African American. We've always had quote-unquote coons or Uncle Toms, or however we want to term that, house Negroes. You know, we even have clips, and we've heard Malcolm X talk about the house Negro and the field Negro. People kind of associate that with people who are quote-unquote cooning. However, for me, cooning really highlights the inappropriate behavior that we have from black people. And the reason why we have this inappropriate behavior from black people is because we really do not have a community. And when I use the word community, I always say quote unquote, because I honestly don't believe as black people, we have a community. I think we have a collective of people. We do share some, you know, some beliefs and some customs and things like that. I think the main thing we share is our collective trauma. That's what I believe, that the main thing we share is our collective trauma. But honestly, we don't have a community. When I look at other groups of people, whether it's ethnic groups or some other social groups, really, they have boundaries, they have policies, they have financial situations set up. They have things that we as a collective don't have. And the reason why we don't have that is because of the historical trauma and intergenerational trauma that we've been in, and we've been conditioned to not have that. We have been designated as the group of people that everyone else benefits off of, and we haven't collectively learned that that has been our unfortunate position in this area of the world, or actually in the world, period. Because if we look at, other countries where we have black populations, usually the darker you are, the worse off you are on the social power dynamic, and that's where we are in the United States as black people, and we have to be honest about that. Most of us don't want to say that. Most of us want to believe in multiculturalism and all these things, but when we really be honest and look at what's happening, we are at the bottom of the damn barrel. I mean, it's ridiculous, and we had to be honest about that. But when you don't have a community, it will breed this type of inappropriate behavior by black people. And I think the inappropriateness is twofold. I think it's one on the person that we are considering to be the coon. Now, these are people like Jesse Lee Peterson. Like, they're people like him. And some people put Stephen A. Smith on that coon train. Yes, the coon train. Some people will talk about Stacey Dash. I mean, these are people that we've talked about recently. And that's inappropriate for those folks to go out here and, throw black people under the bus for whatever reason. Whether they're getting paid to do it, or they truly believe these things, or they're being coerced, or or their publicist is telling them to say these things. I mean, we recently thrown Cam Newton on the coon train with some of the things that he said. It's very interesting what happens when people of notoriety, get other people involved, publicists, lawyers, people that they're handlers, and they change their dialogue and the way that they address media. And then it becomes to be very anti-black things that they say. So that's one level of the inappropriate behavior. I believe, and this is where I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback from, and probably a lot of people are going to stop listening to this podcast. But I also believe that the inappropriate behavior comes on the other side of us as black people criticizing these folks. Why do I say that? I do believe that they deserve criticism. Absolutely. We should not pay these people any attention. We should not focus in on this coon behavior. However, due to our trauma, we will jump on a black person before we jump on anybody. Due to the internalized white supremacy that we've been through as black folks, we will jump on the coons and forget about the real person behind the coon. Like, if you think about it, coons are really puppets, and they're doing the bidding for white supremacy, for internalized racism, institutionalized racism. They're really doing the work for the system itself. And what ends up happening is it becomes very easy for us as black people, due to our traumatized conditioning, to jump on these black people and keep pounding them, keep talking about them, put them on the coon train. We got like 3 remixes of the Coon Train. Thanks, Tariq, for that. We got like 3 that, I mean, it's ridiculous. But these people will keep putting these types of black folks in front of us for us to be distracted, and then we get away from the real issues and the real problems that have happened because we're so focused on the quote unquote coons. So this is what I call coon hunting. This is a tactic of white supremacy, and we do not seem to understand that. They will put a black person. This is a tactic. This is a strategy. This is something that is used to throw you off your game. They understand that we have internalized white supremacy so much that we will get so frustrated when we see another black person speaking against the collective, and we will focus all our attention, all our energy, and a lot of our time on those black people instead of on the system and the people who are operating the system, and then we are thrown off balance. So I think that that's also inappropriate behavior. It is amazing how many YouTube videos, how many Facebook posts and Twitter and tweets and memes that I've seen about Lil Wayne in the past couple of days. And, I had to second guess myself if I even wanted to do this podcast because I'm just adding to it. But I wanted to put a different type of spin on it and a different type of narrative on this, because if we continue to focus on the quote unquote coons, we're not really focusing on the problem. Now, I have heard some people say the coons are the problem. I understand that. I respect where you're coming from with that. But we cannot only address the coons and leave it there. Like, that's what ends up happening is we start to get into that anti-black type of a mentality where we just stay stuck on the quote unquote the coons. That's why I don't like coons. I don't like dealing with coons. I only like talking about them because I know how we are as black people and the internalized white supremacy and that internalized self-hatred that we have. We will just stay stuck battling with the quote unquote coons, and we won't even have enough energy, focus, time, resources to even focus in on dismantling white supremacy or the racism that's going on. And this is what we got. We got to watch out, because that is a tactic. We got to watch for the hook. It's very tricky. And this is what they do. Funny thing that this reminds me of, back in, I believe, 2004, David Chappelle had a stand-up, and he was talking about Ja Rule. And actually, you know what? I'm going to play the clip. So here's the clip really quick. I'm going to play that, and then we're going to come back and talk about it.
For real, why you care so much what the Dixie Chicks say? It's not like they political scientists or nothing. They just bitches, they can sing good. You know what I mean? Stop worshiping celebrities so much. Just don't listen, don't pay attention. I remember right around September 11th, Ja Rule was on MTV. That's what they said. They said, we got Ja Rule on the phone. Let's see what Ja's thoughts are on this tragedy. Who gives a fuck what Ja Rule thinks at a time like this, nigga? This is ridiculous. I don't want to dance. I'm scared to death. I want some answers that Ja Rule might not have right now. You think when bad shit happens to me, I'll be in the crib like, oh my God, this is terrible. Could somebody please find Ja Rule, get hold of this motherfucker so I can make sense of all this. Where is Ja? Guide me, Ja Rule.
So that was the clip by the great Dave Chappelle. Who gives a damn what Ja Rule got to say? But this is what happens. This is a tactic that gets thrown our way all the time, is they will put these notable black people on television or in interviews, and they will ask them these questions that they know is going to derail us from the focus of what we're trying to do. And we got to watch out for this hook, because just like Dave Chappelle said about Ja Rule, like, why are we asking Ja Rule, a music artist, about what happened on 9/11? Like, those things don't even connect. So why are we asking Lil Wayne about this? You know, why are we listening to Stephen A. Smith, who's supposed to be talking about sports, talk about things? And I'm not even going to go off on Stephen A. Smith, because, man, this guy, my. There's been several incidents where he just is attacking black people. And there was an incident of a reporter from ESPN who had got, she was being spied on at a hotel, and it was just some inappropriate sexual behavior was happening. And he had commented on how women should protect themselves, and you know, feminists came down hard on him, and he was apologetic and all this. But then, you know, whenever something happens with black people, he's quick to blame black people for our own situations. And that's that coon behavior that white folks and people who control media know is going to rally us and turn us against each other. And the coons don't necessarily, the quote unquote coons don't even know how, you know, they're being used as pawns, or maybe they do know. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't, but there's a good chance that they do. But we got to watch out, because it is a tactic that's used. And one of the things that comes to mind for me is we have seen this surging of coons. We have seen this increase of coons, and no one really asks why. Like, why do we have coons? And I contend, and honestly, I got this thought, this concept from Sergeant Willie Pete on YouTube. And if you don't know who Sarge SWP is, he's a young dude. I think we're about the same age. Who puts, you know, he kind of has a podcast, but it's really on YouTube. and he shares a lot of his thoughts and things that he goes over with people. And I think he's on point with a lot of stuff, but really on this, he helped craft my mentality on this a lot, where he talks about the reason why we have these coons is because they get rewarded and or they get punished by the dominant group. And if you don't have a community that can reward these people or punish these people, then you will continue to have coons. And I was like, damn, that was pretty profound. It made a lot of sense to me. That's why we have coons. Because as a quote unquote community, black people cannot reward these people. We're not funding them. Stephen A. Smith is getting money from ESPN. Lil Wayne is getting money from various sponsors, Mountain Dew, he's getting Samsung. He's getting all these sponsors that are pushing him, not the black community. Hell, Lil Wayne told us, black people ain't coming to my concerts, white people are. So he's telling us who's funding him. So he gets rewarded from a different group. And if he says something or gets out of line, he will also get punished by them, as we seen what happened to Stephen A. Smith. He got punished by ESPN. They suspended his ass. They did. Black community ain't suspending nobody. We're not punishing anyone. We're not taking food out of anyone's mouth. And that's the problem. We will always have coons. Coons will always have loud voices, and they will always derail us on the movements and the organizing that we are trying to do, because they are not supported by us. They are supported by dominant society. So as long as coons get rewards, as long as coons have the threat of being punished by others, we will continue to have them. Now, we have to develop community in order to stop coons. Talking about coons, putting them on the coon train, making memes about them, unfollowing them on Twitter or going at them on Twitter. Those things are not going to stop these people, because at the end of the day, they're going to hop in their vehicle, they're going to go to their nice home, and they're going to wait for that next opportunity to get in front of a microphone and do what they do. And that's just the name of the game, and we have to understand that. We cannot keep giving people donkey of the day and thinking that that's going to stop these people from doing what they do. This is why they're there. They're there for that reason. They're there to shift your focus and to get you off. That is the whole part of coons. That's their whole role. Man, we got to understand that we are in a society that's playing chess. And as black people, we are playing checkers. Checkers is a game that's all based off of momentary movement, right? So you go here, I go there. You go here, I go there. You go here, I go there. There's not a lot of strategy. But in chess, you have to understand moves. There's only so many different moves that you can do in chess. And this is the game that everybody else is playing while we're up here playing checkers. And that's why we keep getting our butts whipped from all different angles. I mean, every level of people activity. And you heard me talk about levels of people activity before. If you haven't, those levels are entertainment, which is what we're kind of talking about today. Economics, education, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Those are 9 areas of people activity. I adapted those areas from the great Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And we are getting our butts whipped in all 9 of those areas. Economics, entertainment, education, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war. We are getting dominated in all those areas because we don't understand that in this world that we live in, people are playing chess. And black people, we're playing checkers. And we've been conditioned due to our trauma to stay in that high level of emotional state. We don't use enough logic to deal with the stuff that we deal with. Coons are pawns in the game. Coons are pawns in the game. And we cannot address coons from an emotional state. We have to address coons from a logical state and understanding why they are there. They are there because they get rewards and there's a threat of punishment. And until we as a collective can reward the people that we need to, support the people that we need to push forward, and also punish them if they get out of line, we will continue to have this problem. The coons are not going anywhere. The coons are not going anywhere. And this is why we have to be very, very careful with idol worship. And this is what Chappelle was talking about. He was talking about idol worship. And this is also part of that chess game. They know that whoever makes a lot of money to us is seen as someone important. They know that. Do you know how many white people make a lot of money that are not really important? People don't even know these people, millionaires. I live in the state of Minnesota. We're one of the top states in the United States that has the number of millionaires. We have a lot. Man, I probably walk around millionaires every day and not even know it. You couldn't tell. There's a lot of money in this state. It's not a cheap state to live in. It really isn't. And these people do not get highlighted. These people are not known. I mean, they might be known in their social circles or whatever field they may be in or whatever work they type of do. But in general, these people are known. Now, yeah, we know about Bill Gates and we know about Steve Jobs and Tony Robbins and all these other white folks. They'll put them people on a pedestal, but those are people that they use for motivation. They don't use those people for their political views. They don't use those people for, to be their leaders. Those are just people that they idolize on a different level. But for us, if somebody can dribble, rap, sing, dance, act, we see them as our leaders. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we have. We have to understand that leadership starts with self first. If you can't lead yourself and influence your circle around you first, you are missing a huge part of the game. Because if you're waiting for Lil Wayne, Stephen A. Smith, Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, if you're waiting for any of these people to do stuff, we already lost, because we don't reward those people and we don't punish those people. We don't. It's great that Colin Kaepernick has come out and do the things that he's did. It's great. But at the end of the day, what has that changed? It started a small movement, but guess what? At any moment, he can get punished. And best believe they're thinking of ways right now to punish him and any other football player as the season continues. Best believe there's going to be some new policies starting next season that they're going to be forcing. Either they're going to force people to stand up for the national anthem, but they ain't going to have this protest and stuff go on. They're already talking about their numbers are down in NFL this year as far as viewership, and they're correlating that right along with what's been happening with Colin Kaepernick and the other football players protesting the national anthem. So best believe they're gonna lay down some punishment. They're gonna lay down some punishment, and kudos to Colin Kaepernick putting his own neck on the line, his own bottom on the line, his own butt on the line for this, because guess what? That punishment's coming. I think he knows that, and he's not allowing that to stop his movement and what he believes in, and that's what we need. I mean, he took self-leadership, even though he's a notable person. He wasn't starting at the time. He's starting again now. But he's a notable person. And he said, you know what? I'm going to be a leader and I'm going to step up and I'm going to do what I got to do. You have to do the same thing. It doesn't matter if you play in the NFL, if you're a janitor, if you're a social worker, if you're a nurse, a damn CNA, it don't matter what you are. You have to see yourself as a leader first and do what you can do to influence your social circle. You have to do it. I try to do it in everything that I do. I try to model every behavior. As a father, I try to model that. I try to show pictures of me and my children. I try to show videos of me and my children doing things. As a husband, I try to show things, me and my wife together, not arguing, not fighting, even though arguments happen. But I try to show those images and be a model every day. As a professional, I try to show, look, I'm a black male and I'm a therapist and I can do this. And at the same time, I can understand where you come from and listen to the same music that you listen to and help you with your problems. I try to model something different for the people that are in my social circle, because if I don't do that, that is my form of leadership. And if I don't be that type of leader, then they will only worship Lil Wayne. They will only worship LeBron James and Serena Williams and Beyonce and Rihanna. We have to understand that leadership starts with self first. We cannot allow these other people who are not being funded by us and are not being reprimanded or punished by us be the leaders. They can do what they do. Their influence is greatly appreciated when it happens. But if that's what we're going to rely on, we are going to stay stuck in this position that we're in. It's time for each and every one of us to lead where we're at, do what we need to do, because we got to get better. And if you want to get better, keep listening to this podcast. Be sure to share it with someone you know. And by the way, I have noticed some people have picked up the podcast and have shared it. It was crazy because I'm subscribed to this one YouTube channel, And on YouTube, when you go to your homepage, it has like recommended videos, and I see my name, and I'm like, oh, who's Brandon Jones? And I clicked on the video, and it was me. So for whoever is uploading the podcast, thanks for sharing it. Be sure to put the website in the description, though, man. Don't kill me that much. I don't mind if you share the podcast, please do, but at least put wokepodcast.com on there or something. But shout outs to whoever's uploading those videos. Much appreciated for sharing the work. You're doing what you need to do to help educate people. And I'm actually subscribed to your site. So if anyone else wants to share the podcast, please do. But at least put the website in the description. You know what I'm saying? Like, show me some love besides put my name out there. Okay, so that's this week's podcast. Until next time, the guests are coming. I'm bringing Mr. Sam Simmons back. I got a couple other people up my sleeve that I'm trying to work out the details on how we can interview, but it's coming. It's coming. So if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe. We're on Google Play. We're on iTunes. We're on TuneIn. We're moving. So move with us. Help get the podcast out. Thank you for the support. I am Brandon Jones. You can follow me at thewokepodcast.com. We're also The Woke Podcast on Facebook. Instagram page is coming soon, and we're going to keep growing. As always, be safe, be constructive, be woke, be woke, be woke. Peace.